Alright, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get into a heavy topic. The topic we're going to be discussing this evening is going to be about survivor's guilt, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I personally believe I deal with survivor's guilt, and just basically the overall definition and what other people describe survivor's guilt as and how they may deal with it, and breaking down the real definition and basically just understanding what survivor's guilt is. As of recently, mental health has been a very heavily talked about topic in the media, music, social media, all over the world basically. A lot of people dealing with these mental health issues head on are mostly millennials, Generation Z, and maybe a few stragglers from the previous generations, but for the most part, I think the ones that acknowledge these mental health issues started with the millennials. So with that being said, we're gonna get into survivor's guilt. Okay, so according to healthline.com, people with survivor's guilt experience guilty or remorseful feelings about a traumatic event that happened to them or they may have witnessed. These feelings show up in a repeating loop, so you might struggle to turn your thoughts to anything else when you're having survivor's guilt, when you're experiencing survivor's guilt. Let's unpack it and break it down some more. I'm gonna talk about some things that may trigger survivor's guilt. A great one is somebody that comes home from the military that was just at war. You may have some type of survivor's guilt because you've seen your friend get shot, or somebody you were colleagues with in the military get shot and die next to you. So you come home feeling like, man, why me? You may be an emergency responder and you might have showed up to a scene and you see something that you don't want to see, and you know, you may feel like this person didn't deserve this, and it onsets some type of survivor's guilt for you. Another thing is when a parent or sibling experiences abuse, that may onset some type of survivor's guilt for you, because it's overall just having feelings of, why didn't this happen to me, and I feel bad because it didn't happen to me and it happened to somebody else that probably didn't deserve it, and stuff like that. So I want to talk about my own feelings that are similar to survivor's guilt, or may even be survivor's guilt, and I could talk about it from a perspective of my experience. Survivor's guilt, I feel like, is very heavy in the Black African American community, and I feel like it's kind of undiagnosed. Nobody really teaches you how to cope with those feelings. Everybody tells you how the door isn't meant to fit everybody, but nobody tells you how hard it is to go through the door without certain people sometimes. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I feel like I can relate to those type of feelings. In my real life, I feel like I'm the only one in my family that has gotten to a certain point of understanding in the world in general. And even though I don't have physical, tangible things, or I haven't really obtained anything, besides knowledge and stuff, I feel guilty that I know all this stuff, and I've seen all this stuff, and I understand all these things, and my siblings don't. I feel somewhat guilty that I understand all these things and my parents don't, because I can't really discuss those things with them. I can't talk about those things with them and get some type of understanding, and sometimes I even get more pushback than anything. So that alone kind of creates its own, survivor's guilt, where it's like, man, I feel like I don't deserve to know all this if I have to fight with these people. I feel like I don't deserve to understand these things if the people that I was born to, that raised me, can't even understand these things. So it's a very heavy feeling. I think what really onset my survivor's guilt was me being a child and being aware that I was biracial. I feel like the survivor's guilt, I didn't know what it was at the time, of course. I wasn't a child going around saying, I got survivor's guilt or whatever, but I can remember what I was feeling at the times. And now that I've read up on things and I have the knowledge and the understanding and the vocabulary, I can kind of address what this was. And this is more according to what they're saying survivor's guilt is I feel like I had a bit of survivor's guilt with my dad's side of the family, which would be my black side of my family. Whenever I would go over there or go around any of them, you know, it's such a dramatic difference for me than being around my mom's side, which is my white Puerto Rican side. So like I said in my previous video, growing up biracial in America, which I'll do a part 2 too soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, like I said in that video, I would go to my granny's house, which was my dad's mom, and things just wouldn't be the same. And then I would go to my grandma's house, and I would have a lot more privilege over there. So me going back and forth, over time I started naturally feeling bad for my granny because she didn't have as much and we couldn't do as much. And instead of me saying or questioning, because at first I questioned, you know, why can't we do this here, why can't we do that there, because I was a child. But then after learning why we couldn't do things there, I started feeling guilty. Like, I started feeling guilty that I was born with this privilege that I had, and being white, like being half white, being part white. And it's not just being part white, it's being born to half of an established family and then half of a family dealing with the black trauma that comes with most black families in America. And you know, just being in the midst of it, like in the midst of them dealing with all of that stuff. So it was very hard for me. It's still very hard for me because, you know, now that I'm older and I can understand those things, I wish there was more things I would have talked to my granny about, or like questions I would have asked her, or, you know, if I would have had the knowledge back then. But, you know, I can't do it anymore. So that stuff kind of hits me hard, and it feels like the survivor's guilt that, you know, everybody's talking about. Very touchy subject. I know a lot of people, like the people I mentioned that made songs and albums and stuff like that, would talk about survivor's guilt because, you know, they would be in the hood and their friend got killed or got shot, and they're like, you know, why not me? Why them? They were a good person and stuff like that. But I feel like there's so many different layers to survivor's guilt. You know, even like the article says, like, there's a bunch of different ways somebody can experience an onset of survivor's guilt, like natural disasters, like something like a hurricane, just a really any traumatic experience. Like I said, it goes into more PTSD than anything else. So I think those two correlate with each other very good. I'm gonna leave the article on healthline.com below for you guys to click on and read up on survivor's guilt. That is basically my take on it, my experience with it. And you know, I just hope anybody out there that's dealing with survivor's guilt or any type of mental health issues that, you know, they're aware of, have belief in yourself that you're gonna get through it. That's all for me. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. If you want to see more like quick talks about, you know, different topics that I'm gonna be touching on, stop by again. Later.